So it's like share my own perspective of being like Black and show that there's a lot of ways to be Black and you should embrace that.
All right, welcome back to our fifth installment, season 1 of the What is Biomechanics series. I am your host, and I'm here with the new guest, per usual. Hey, guest, who are you? Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kieran Nichols. I am a PhD candidate at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I study lower limb prosthetics. And I'm excited to talk today.
Well, we're happy to have you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to do this. So let's start off with the infamous question number 1 of the second half of this season. And how would you think biomechanics applies to everyday life? Or how would you say that it applies to everyday life?
I think both directly and indirectly. For me, it's definitely more on the sports and quality of life. So I do gymnastics and still somehow doing gymnastics at a club level. And it helps me think about a lot of the different events and skills I do. And in terms of quality of life, that goes at the prosthetic work I do. So I'm working into doing low cost, semi-active prosthetic devices. And with that, kind of having more accessible prosthetics to people. And I'm really interested in kind of how to design and implement them. So I'm currently in just a testing phase for a few different feats that I've been helping with. Otherwise, it's all into product development, which also could be in sports, like you think of big sports companies, and then helping with a general understanding for like mechanics of different biological bodies. So whether it's direct from your work to sports, or indirect for just general understanding for better movement. I appreciate what biomechanics could do for everyone.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't think a lot of people think about its cohesiveness with everyday life.
Yeah.
So great answer. No, great answer.
Oh, thanks.
Of course. Question number 2. Since biomechanics is a relatively quote unquote new field, what would you tell someone that's actually pursuing biomechanics? What advice would you kind of give them?
Yeah, and of course, advice would depend on how young or old they are. And for a lot of people I give advice to, it's undergrads and some new grad students. And with it is engage as soon as possible. Like take classes that seem interesting, take internships, join labs, because a lot of people graduate from, let's say, kinesiology, biomechanics, engineering, and they're like, okay, this seems interesting, get into grad school and be like, okay, no, this is not for me. So I really encourage people to engage as soon as possible. And if you could do like a summer research program, I know I've come across a lot of people who've taken advantage of even paid summer research internships and try to start researching undergrad to get into fellowship so you could at least have it paid for. Because I had to go through not difficulty, but having a little extra to think about in grad school where you have to teach to help pay for a good amount of grad school. So if people could have the option of teaching instead of having to teach to get to grad school, it gives a lot more flexibility in how they could engage with the research. But of course, I always promote people teaching because it could really help you understand the material better. But if like high school students or even children, I recommend them to like look up online. There's a lot of stuff in open source. So from motion capture to just YouTube videos, just engaging in material, reaching out to different people, both industry and grad school. And a lot of people think about it as like either grad school or industry. And fortunately, they have some more options that are popping up that's a bit of both. But I definitely engage sooner, so then you could realize the options that you have, and then don't think that if you choose one option, it can't do another. So you start grad school and realize you don't like the academic system. Totally understandable. Then if you go to conferences, engage with all types of people, not just people in your field. I think that could go a long way.
Really good advice. I wish I had that advice.
Yeah, me
So
too.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Question number three. This is a really personal question
Hmm.
that we love within the series. What does being a Black biomechanist mean to you?
Yeah, so I definitely had to think on that question. Fortunately, I had the questions prior, but with it, I think I'll have to describe a little more of myself. So I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, which is a small island south of the Caribbean. And I grew up there, went to undergrad at Penn State. I was fortunate enough to be able to, and then grad school in Wisconsin. And for me, like, especially the part of black biomechanists, I, I think about like, what is it being black means to me. So in Trinidad, I wouldn't necessarily be called black because black is more reserved for like Trinidadians with African ancestry.
Mhm.
But when I came to the US, I kind of got that black attached to my identity because in Trinidad, I was referred to as mixed because I'm mixed with Indian and black. So coming here, it was definitely a complicated word to understand, and it's still a complicated word to understand. But what it means to me to be a black biomechanist is kind of using the knowledge I've gained about like even the struggle of trying to get into biomechanics, where like I realized there's a true gap uh, in the community, especially coming to like University of Wisconsin, which is white dominated. So it's realizing that difference and how I could potentially contribute to like a field that is so like homogeneous. Like the ideas are like one way.
Yeah.
So having a different perspective, and especially my background was in kinesiology, and I went into engineering for my PhD. So appreciating the background and more, let's say, theoretical kinesiology, and then applying it to engineering and getting more products built. But I really like how now I have the ability, since I'm close to end my PhD, to mentor, to help people, both like high school students and undergrads and grad students, and then create a more inclusive world for like the scientists. So like being black to me is like I'm still figuring out what that is. But since I have my own background and history, I want to show that yeah, being black isn't just one way.
Wow, that's powerful. I love it. Wow. Wow. And I know in the answer you just gave me, you kind of referenced kind of the answer to the question that I'm going to ask you now.
Okay.
But how do you expect or how do you hope to make an impact in the world of biomechanics?
Yeah, for me, like when I was younger, I definitely wanted to, it was like, oh, I'm going to go out in the world and make a big impact. But through the struggles of trying to make those big impacts, I had to come to the acceptance and appreciation that small things go a long way. So like a lot of people remember the small acts you do. So I think I'm trying to focus on that. And maybe someday I could have a big act, but then I'll just be like, I'm just happy with the small things I do. So I try to mentor and make it the objective to continue and mentor and improving how I mentor people from grad students to undergrad. So I've taken kind of like a senior position in my lab, which gives me a lot of opportunity to kind of reach out and improve the culture or atmosphere in my lab to make it not as hard to like enter in. Because, you know, when you first start, you think, oh, I need to show like, you try to race to be as best as you can instead of realizing it's a marathon and you should really kind of like pace yourself and appreciate the now.
Oh, definitely, definitely. No.
And
Oh, go
oh,
ahead. No,
oh,
no.
I was gonna add also, it's like share my own perspective of being like black and show that there's a lot of ways to be black and you should embrace that, and then kind of like help other people have the opportunity to get into research. So since I'm in research with a PhD, is kind of like fluid engaging. So if I have people interested, I'd be like, yeah, just come check it out. Or I helped with a conference, kind of helping the way forward for having travel grants. So learning about how to choose people with travel grants, what how to help them feel included and comfortable. So I appreciated having that power and and appreciated being able to use it well.
No, that's dropping gems today, I see. But no, yeah, definitely. All good stuff. I know BBA appreciates you. I know the world of biomechanics and the individuals that you've already interacted with appreciate what you're doing. I know you are going to have a tremendously long reach now and post-graduation. So we are all looking forward to see what you're doing. If you all want to get more information, check his information down in the description below. And outside of that, thank you again for being our guest, and we will see you soon, audience, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I appreciate like this program you're having, and really excited to see what becomes of it and like who else you have on it.
Of course. All right, and see you all next episode.